What's up, Surf players? It's your homie C-Rod, and in today's video, I'm gonna be giving you a tier list. Pretty much S tier being the best of the best starter decks, and F tier being the worst starter decks, meaning they will most likely not win any games. So without further ado, let me start this tier list. So in the F tier, there's gonna be two decks here. We're gonna be having the Awakening starter deck, which is the first starter deck ever that comes with Super Saiyan Blue Goku in it, and that's gonna be getting F tier because honestly it's the first starter deck ever and it's really outdated. Like, if you take that deck out of the box, you're not gonna be beating anybody. The leader itself is very powerful, but unfortunately it's honestly not gonna win anything. It's too old of a deck. And also, the Guardian Namekians are also going to be getting that F tier, being the worst of the worst, because honestly, it's never really won anything. The Namekians, unfortunately, have always gotten the short end of the stick, and in Dragon Ball Super Card Game, they also got that short end of the stick by not having a too consistent of a winning deck. So that is for the F tier. Now for the E tier, we have 4 decks that I ended up categorizing in this tier. So first things first, I'm going to talk about the Shenron's Advent starter deck, which is the Wish Mechanic leader. There was a point where this leader was honestly one of the strongest leaders. The Wish Mechanic being able to pretty much awaken when you get all 7 Dragon Balls in the drop area was really overpowered, but then Bandai realized it was too strong and they errated a couple of the cards that would make the Wish leaders, shine. Unfortunately, after that, the deck has really not been able to win anything anymore. And another E tier deck is the Extreme Evolution starter deck, which is the starter deck that has the little kid Goku GT version, and this deck is all about GT, and it's honestly really fun to play. All these decks are really fun to play, but this starter deck isn't that good because the leader Goku doesn't really do much, and the deck does have some cool cards in it like the Chain Attack Trunks and things like that, but it's still gonna get E tier in my book. And then we got the Resurrected Fusion also getting E tier, and that is the Gogeta starter deck, the one with Gogeta in it, and that one's honestly really fun too. The leader is pretty darn good. He's able to grant himself double strike, give himself a power boost, and it mills a lot, allowing you to use sparking cards, and it's pretty darn good. You get a pretty decent deck with it, but it's still gonna get E tier in my books because all the awesome cards that you play in that deck are not really relevant anymore. And talking about things that are not relevant, we got the Dark Invasion Bardock starter deck. Now that deck right there was a beast. When it came out, it was destroying, but right now it's unfortunately, like, if you get it out of the box and you go to your local tournament, you're gonna be most likely getting wrecked. It has the ability to use Overwhelm, where you get cards from the drop area and you warp them away, pretty much kind of like remove them from the game to bring out cards and be able to spam the field like that. And honestly, it's a really fun starter deck, but it's still going to be getting E tier. Now we're going to be moving on to D tier. And the D tier decks, it's 2 of them that I ended up putting in the D tier. So we got the Crimson Saiyan starter deck. This is the Super Saiyan 4 starter deck, the one that introduces Goku's lineage. And this starter deck is actually one of the most fun starter decks you could purchase. And it's very powerful, more powerful than any of the other ones that I mentioned. It has a very powerful leader that's able to gain a power boost, critical, and his self-awakening ability is really good as well, being able to restand energies, and it also uses the instant transmission counter, which is really powerful as well. Then we have the Saiyan's Legacy, which is another starter deck, but this one is the one with King Vegeta in it, and this is the introduction to dual colors, and you're actually able to play this starter deck in the game app, the tutorial app. So if you want to try it out, definitely go download that tutorial app. But I'm gonna give this starter deck D tier. It's very explosive, very aggro, but the cards in here at the moment aren't that relevant either. And honestly, you're gonna die before you can even awaken your leader if you do not find the planet Vegeta that lets you awaken the leader. So he's gonna be getting D tier. That starter deck, the King Vegeta, is getting D tier. So now we are moving on to B tier. Now we're getting a little better decks, and now we're gonna be introducing expert decks, which is another form of a structured deck that Bandai sells, but slightly more expensive, like a couple dollars more expensive, but you get a way better, more competitive deck. So we're gonna be talking about the Android Duality Expert deck, and this is the one with Android 21. I'm gonna be ranking it at B tier because it does have the Android 21 dual color card that's able to burn damage your opponent, and the fact that you have a lot of dual colors in here and a lot of Android cards in here makes this deck actually really good out of the box, and it's extremely powerful, and I think it would beat any of the other decks that I mentioned that are in the lower tiers for sure. And then we also got the Ultimate Life Form Cell in B tier as well. This is another dual color deck, but this one has Cell in it, and you're going to be bringing out the little token juniors, the Cell token juniors, out onto the field to swarm out and obliterate your opponent, and then you're going to be able to bring out the big Cell that honestly is not that difficult to bring out and is really darn powerful in my opinion. Then we also have the Instinct Surpass starter deck for beginners, which has dual color cards as well, but these are red blue, and it uses all the Universe 7 members in it, and honestly is very powerful. You get the Vegeta as an exclusive card that comes out onto the field that's 25k power. And on top of that, you're able to just swarm your opponent with critical attacks with your leader. This is A tier. We got Parasitic Overlord, which seems to be the easiest starter deck to find out there at your local shops. If you go to Target or if you go to GameStop, that's the one that I've seen the most, and it's actually worth it because it's very powerful. It runs the Baby Engine, which is also dual color, but this one is yellow and red, and it's very aggro-like because of the fact that your leader gains the ability to attack multiple times by striking your life, and when he awakens, he still deals a lot of damage by attacking a lot. Then we have a slightly more expensive deck, and it happens to be the Universe 6 Sailants. Now this one is one of the strongest ones. I wanted to give it S tier, but I ended up giving it A tier. This one runs dual color as well, but this starter deck has yellow and blue, and honestly it's an extremely powerful starter deck right off the bat. This expert deck right here is just gonna obliterate your opponent, but you do need to complete the deck by getting the SR, Khalifa, and Kale to make it really competitive. But right off the box, it's an extremely powerful deck that just aggroes your opponent down and swarms the field. Then another A tier happens to be Clan Collision, which happens to be the newest of the starter decks, which is the one with Frieza in it, and introducing the Unison cards, where you add markers to these cards and they become like little mini leaders. And these guys are really powerful to utilize in battles, and that's why it has gotten A tier right off the bat. You're able to full on pressure your opponent and force them to discard with the Frieza leader. And on top of that, you're going to be able to just bring out the Doria and aggro your opponent and hand destruction them to their ultimate death. That's why I ended up giving Frieza A tier. Now for the best and the top tier starter decks slash expert decks that you could potentially buy, and if you find them and you're new to Dragon Ball Super card game, I 100% without a doubt would say buy these if you're trying to get into the game. It happens to be the Spirit of Patora, which happens to be Vegito and Gogeta starter deck. And this deck right here has Vegito as the leader, but it has Unison cards, which, like I said earlier, are like little mini leaders that are able to attack your opponent, and you add markers to it. That deck right there is extremely powerful. It has good counters, it has an amazing leader, and on top of that, it has a finisher, which is the Unison that your leader is able to give triple strike to. Then the Rising Broly's also gotta get S tier for me. That Rising Broly starter deck, if you find it at a local Walmart or a Target or some retail store, buy it, because right now that starter deck is probably selling for like $50 to $60. And if you could buy it for $10-$20, buy it and buy all of them. And this starter deck is extremely powerful right off the box. Like, you open up the box and you got a pretty meta deck. It comes with Broly, the big drop. It comes with the whole Broly chain, honestly. And you're able to self-awaken and draw with his awesome ability of Sparking 7. You draw cards until you have 6 cards in hand. The leader is so darn powerful, and it comes with the best super combo Asparagus that allows you to draw 2 and send 1 card from your hand to the warp as a super combo. That right there is extremely powerful. And then last but not least, another S tier, and if not the best starter deck you could potentially buy that will destroy any of the other decks, happens to be the Saiyan Wonder starter deck, which has Vegex, which is Xeno, Vegeta, and Xeno Trunks. And that deck right there is very meta, and honestly, it could definitely be any other deck right off the box, just like that. And if you buy 2 of those starter decks, you pretty much got yourself a very competitive theme-like deck. Just buy a couple SRs that are not very expensive, and you could honestly obliterate your opponent. He's able to give the Unison card in the deck, which happens to be a card that's able to come out onto the field for free just by milling it, and your leader mills a lot. Then you're able to give double strike to it with your awakened leader's ability to just finish off your opponent. So that is my tier list, going from S to the best and F to the worst. And if you guys like this video, make sure to like this video, share this video to any of your friends that are trying to get into Dragon Ball Super card game and they're stuck or on the fence on what starter deck to buy. And if they're playing Dragon Ball Super card game, definitely tell them to subscribe, and you subscribe if you're watching. And like we always say, y'all stay super.